It is likely that there are many future bettors that have a Baltimore Ravens betting ticket who are sweating quite a bit right now. The Ravens came into the 2020 season with the hype that accompanied the 2019 Kansas City Chiefs. Their quarterback, Lamar Jackson, was coming off a 2019 MVP campaign that changed the quarterback position. Their draft was phenomenal, picking up players like J.K. Dobbins, and their defense was one of the best units in the National Football League, if not the best unit in the AFC. What happened before? The Ravens have not lived up to the hype that came with the season. They're not winning the games we thought they would win in the 2020 campaign, and we aren't really sure that the Ravens are going to make a deep playoff push either. In 2019, the Ravens went 14-2, and they won their division by a full 6 games. The Ravens are one of just 17 teams to go 14-2 since the 1998 season. That's an incredibly difficult and impressive feat, and it seems like maybe expectations should have been tempered. When the Ravens ended their 2019 season, they were on a 12-game winning streak. They were beating teams by 2 scores or more, and they had massive wins over the New England Patriots, Pittsburgh Steelers, Los Angeles Rams, Seattle Seahawks, Miami Dolphins, Houston Texans, and San Francisco 49ers. They were dominant in every game they played during the last half of the season. Then the playoffs hit. The last of greatness. It seems like during the playoffs, the Ravens lost their way, and they haven't been the same since. They took on the Tennessee Titans in the divisional round after a bye week in the wild card round. It was a 28-12 blowout, where Derrick Henry made the whole roster of the Ravens look like children. Lamar Jackson was picked off twice. Henry ran for 195 yards, and the Ravens needed a magnet to find the end zone. Since that game, it seems like a switch has been turned off inside the Ravens' heads, and they haven't been able to get back. After that game, John Harbaugh was clearly disappointed, but it was something that he said after the game that really sticks with me. I think it gives an inside look at how tough that loss was. I felt like this was the best football team that it could be this year, Ravens coach John Harbaugh said. With the group that we had, we made the most of us, becoming the best football team we could be. We just weren't that today, and that's the disappointing thing. Harbaugh gave that team extremely high praise, calling them the best football team it could be. That is high praise for a football team, coming from a coach that has won a Super Bowl with another Ravens squad already. After losing a season so quickly in the playoffs, after being so dominant all season long, that has gotta hurt more than ever, especially for a head coach. It seems like the embarrassment that they were served up truly changed the identity of the team. Where are they now? It seems very clear that they have not rebounded from that loss to the Titans in the playoffs of the 2019 season. The Ravens have had a tough go with things from injuries to COVID-19 troubles and just general losing. Baltimore has been postponed a few times, have been played on short rest. Throw that all together with the team maybe not getting over a loss that was crushing on the most national stage in the league, and this season has been a bit of an emotional roller coaster. After a game this season where the Ravens lost, Lamar Jackson seemed like he'd had enough of losing and the poor play. The team he plays on is clearly too talented and too skilled to be losing the amount of games that they are. He had this to say after a recent loss to a team that had a much worse record than they did. "We're ticked off," Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson said. "Don't nobody like losing, especially when we have a lot of talent on our team. We've just got to regroup. No, we are doing a great job. Coach, offensive coordinator Greg Roman, was dialing it up. We've just got to finish drives." Jackson isn't the only player who's upset. Ravens wide receiver Marquise Brown went about a brutal way to vent about the team. Brown went to Twitter, and historically, when any player heads to social media to publicly call out a team, it doesn't exactly bode well for the relationship of the team and the player. Brown was upset that he was targeted just 2 times on back-to-back plays for 3 receiving yards in the game. For their number 1 receiver to be targeted just twice in a loss it raises some eyebrows, and it's clear to see why Brown was upset. Feels like this is something that wouldn't have happened last season. Brown's exact words on Twitter were this: "What's the point of having soldiers when you never use them? Never." Brown was clearly upset that he wasn't targeted as much as he should have been, and he wants the Ravens to be looking his way more often. Last year, you wouldn't have seen players publicly airing grievances like this. By the numbers. The numbers that are troubling for the Ravens this season, compared to the last, are the offensive numbers. Last year, Baltimore was putting points up like it was nothing, scoring at will and flexing their muscle with speed and swagger. This year, the offense has been lugged down, and there is no longer the speed and flash that we saw in 2019. Last year, Baltimore averaged over 407 yards per game, whereas this year, they have averaged over 338 yards. It's not even in the top half of the league. Last year, they had over 3,200 yards on the ground, which was nearly 1,000 more yards than the next best team. This year, the run game has not been kind to Baltimore, as they have rushed for just over 2,000 and don't look to come remotely close to the number they put up last year. Maybe the most jarring stat is the points per game that the Ravens have failed to put up. Last year, they led the league with 33.2 points. That would even lead the league in 2020. This year, the Ravens are averaging just 26.3 points per game. Bottom line, there are some drastic differences between the 2019 Baltimore Ravens and the 2020 Baltimore Ravens. There needs to be a massive change on offense, and a massive change with their 2019 MVP winner. The team culture and the chemistry of this team is different from last year, as seen by the media grievances and social media outbreaks. The Ravens can still turn things around, but it is clear that Baltimore hasn't lived up to the expectations that we had for them this year, and the once Super Bowl favorites are no longer that.